The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
There goes that man's jock strap.
Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports.
There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
The In a League of Their Own podcast is brought to you by Golf Kicks. Screw your shoes. By Canadips. Rep Sports. By Smooth My Balls. And by Streamer Loot. Check out the In the League of Their Own merch line today. Welcome to the show. Let's see what Austin and Collin are diving into today.
Yeah, after 50 long years, the Bucks are finally NBA champions once again. We'll get into that in a little bit here. Kicking things off with the NFL, what is the latest over there?
So big news came out yesterday. New York Jets assistant coach Greg Knapp is battling life-threatening injuries from being in a bicycle accident. There wasn't really too much details about the injury itself. It just basically says that it was a bicycle accident and somebody had called in around 3:00 in the afternoon out in California. And unfortunately, he was struck by a vehicle, and the vehicle's driver's names being withheld, and they're investigating if drugs or alcohol were a factor. But based on the preliminary investigation, there was nothing. He didn't seem to be underneath the influence or anything. It just happened that he must have just not been paying attention, and he got hit when he was crossing an intersection. So hopefully, he comes through on the other side of this, and the whole sports world is pulling for you.
Yeah, it was a crazy accident, like you said. There's not a whole lot going on with it yet. Like you said, they believe that drugs and alcohol weren't a thing, but until they run tests, they won't know for sure. But looks like the driver who hit him was cooperating, so at least he's doing that part and not obviously accepting the fact that he made a mistake and going to try to cooperate as much as possible. So yeah, hopefully he makes it out of it on the other end. And we'll update it as soon as we know more stuff. Yeah.
And then Los Angeles running back Cam Akers to miss the entire 2021 series with the torn Achilles. That's a big loss for them. He's kind of been their workhorse ever since they got rid of Todd Gurley. And yeah, that's a huge hole to fill. It's going to be interesting to see who they choose to put in running back one position now.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Henderson. I'd say, I guess kind of a good comparison would be like Cam Akers was like an Aaron Jones and Henderson was like a Jamal Williams for the Packers last year, to where Williams was probably getting, or Jones was probably getting 75-80% of the snaps. Again, so Henderson's gonna have to step up. I don't even know who their third running back would be unless they're gonna try to call up somebody from a practice squad or look to see who's available as a free agent yet. But yeah, that's a huge blow to that Rams offense, especially now that they got Matt Stafford. They're looking to be heavily favored to win the NFC West again. But as sports goes, it's always next man up. So we'll see how they adjust.
Yeah, and then just the latest news on Rodgers. Details finally came out about what the contract that he was offered that he said no to earlier in the season. This was when Schefter came out and initially reported that he did not want to return to the team due to management issues. It would have made him the highest paid NFL quarterback, which would have surpassed Mahomes for $45 million a season. So rumors have that it was a 2-year deal, so people are guessing that it was on the borderline of $50-60 million a season.
Yeah, I mean, it's more and more frustrating seeing that coming out with Rodgers saying multiple times I mean, I shouldn't say multiple times. The few times he's come out during this whole thing and kind of spoke on it, he said it's not about the money. It's never been about the money. And the Packers just keep trying to fix it with money. So obviously he's going to keep denying it. He's going to keep declining it. Um, you could offer him $100 million a year and he probably wouldn't take it because, again, it's not about the money for him. The guy's been in the NFL for 16 years, making $20 to $30 million a year. Along the way, that he's made over $500 million. Like, he doesn't need more money. That's just NFL money. He's contracted with State Farm, with Bose, with Adidas. He golfs in tournaments. He's probably made over $1 billion in his life between all of his facets of making money. Like, he does. He's not one of those greedy guys who's like, oh, I need more money. I need more money. He's a rare breed of athlete who obviously likes to get paid the amount that he's worth, but not really getting overpaid or more than he needs to. So, yeah, it's frustrating as a Packers fan to see that they're still trying to fix the whole situation with money, even though Rodgers has said multiple times it's not about the money, which kind of goes to show to me that the Packers are kind of have nothing else to offer him, or they don't want to offer him more than obviously just a monetary side to this deal. What they would give him, I have no idea, whether it's just kind of basically rights to walk, where this year he's either going to play for the Packers or he's going to sit out. Obviously, he's not going to play for another team this season unless the Packers decide to completely go back on all the words they said and look like a fucking laughing stock and end up trading him, even though they've said multiple times they're not going to trade him. So either he's going to play the season or sit the season. And then probably a part of his deal where he would come back is to say, hey, I'll come back, play one more season, but you give me unrestricted free agent, like as a part of my contract. And next year, let me look around the league and walk next season is kind of what is probably going to look like for him. The only stipulation that would be if they win a Super Bowl. That would be probably the only reason that he would potentially stay next season.
I still don't think even if they do win, I feel like this is it. This is the ending this season of him being a Green Bay Packer. Unless management, gets completely wiped and we get new people coming in that he really likes, who obviously that's probably not going to happen. But yeah, let's just hope that, both sides end up being okay in this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I keep pulling. Obviously, I'm a Packers fan first, but I'm kind of in that middle ground between being a Rodgers fan and a Packers fan. Just kind of looking with the frustration of what this team's kind of putting him through. Not really, obviously, seeing eye to eye with what he wants. He's not asking for the moon from this team. He just wants his respect, which he has not gotten for a very long time. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, the preseason is less than a month away. It's only a few weeks away. Training camp starts next week for a lot of teams. So, we'll kind of see what happens. I'm not expecting him to show up right away. If he does show up, I kind of going off what you've said a couple times, where I could see him showing up week 4, week 5, week 6 if the Packers start 0-5, 1-5, 1-4, kind of just a terrible start to the season. The Packers finally realize Aaron Rodgers' worth beyond the monetary side of things, and they work out a deal to get him back for the rest of the season. But yeah, I'm not gonna hold my breath on it. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely we will see what happens. And then the last thing that I have for the NFL news is Peyton Manning and Eli Manning will alternate Monday Night Football broadcasts throughout the season. So I think that's going to be really cool, seeing those two staying involved with the game, as those two, grew up on the tree of the NFL and they know it, backward and forward probably better than anybody else. So it's going to be awesome to see them calling games, and hopefully they can kind of give it a little bit of like a Tony Romo feel where they kind of dissect a little bit what's going on. I feel like fans really love to watch that and listen to it.
Yeah, just my initial inclination, I feel like Peyton is going to be better than Eli just because he's got more of that. He seems more charismatic. But also Eli, now that he's out of the game, he could be a completely different guy too, to where instead of just kind of being the quiet, shy guy who just plays football, he could be
People
opened
say
up
he's
more
funny
and
as shit.
yeah. He doesn't have a lot. He is like Eli doesn't have very much of a social media presence. Neither does Peyton, but Peyton does a lot more commercials and stuff to where he's got his corny jokes that he has in there and stuff. But yeah, looking forward to it. The ESPN broadcast team has kind of needed a revamp for a couple of years now. And yeah,
Next is Troy Aikman and Joe Buck.
Yeah, that's I mean, you can't really change the way they do it. Obviously, they're great
Or let them
commentators,
just do
but unless
Cowboys
you're,
games.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Just let them do Cowboys games, and don't let them do Packers games because they refuse to say good things about the Packers when they're doing a Packers game. Obviously, Aikman being a former Cowboy, like it makes sense for them to kind of favor that team, but at the same time, you are a broadcaster for Fox Sports. You can't be biased towards a certain team or certain teams and kind of shit on other teams and look for reasons to pick them apart. Like,
unless Fox Sports feels the same way.
Yeah, who knows with that, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, as much as they're annoying, I mean, they're Joe Buck is is an iconic voice in sports. So obviously, I'd like to still hear him call games, whether that's just Cowboys games, like you said, or they remove him and put him in a different facet. We'll see, but yeah,
Move to Thursday night where no one watches.
yeah, because Fox does
Amazon
the
has
Thursday
it.
night games.
Well, Amazon has that now.
Yeah, well, Fox, like it's Fox or how do they say it? Like Amazon doesn't Amazon basically uses Fox to broadcast their games. That's how they're doing it. Like it's presented by Amazon Prime, but like
I
they
thought it was
use
only
Fox networks.
exclusive to Amazon people.
Well, because you could watch like the games on Fox. That's how I'd always watch them. Even though it was like presented by Amazon Prime, you could watch them on Fox.
See, I thought that was changing for this season since Amazon like basically spent a whole bunch of money on that.
Oh, they're actually like fully taking it over now.
I thought so. I could be wrong, but I thought that they were taking it over on their own network and everything.
That'd be cool because I remember there's a couple games that like Fox wasn't in on it to where I had to pull up Amazon Prime to watch like a Thursday night game. It wasn't a Packers game. It was just I just wanted to watch the game and realized that it wasn't on Fox. But unless they have only certain games where Fox like will do it, where if it's like every other game or every so many weeks, and it just happened to be that the games I watched that Fox was in on them too. But
yeah, I don't know. It was interesting because they Amazon partnered with Twitch last year and was paying streamers to broadcast the Amazon Prime Thursday night football stream. And they were getting paid like $10,000 every Thursday, doing that. Because Juju Smith-Schuster got in trouble because he mentioned it and he technically can't make income from more than one place you're employed with the NFL. So you can't be working during the season making money through another entity for football when you're employed with the NFL. So yeah, he had to pay that back, I think.
Yeah, obviously it'd be frustrating for people who don't have Amazon Prime. Or if your favorite team is playing on a Thursday night. Again, it's just kind of it's a money pit for people that if they don't already have it, if you are that diehard of a fan of a certain team and you don't have Amazon, looks like you're paying, I don't know, make an account for 1 month every year, watch the game that they have on Thursday night, cancel it next year, do the same thing over and over, I guess, if that's how you want to do it. But at the same time, it's just a way for Amazon to get people to sign up, realize, oh, Amazon's pretty cool, and then they keep it, and then that's how Amazon gets more money. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see other networks kind of get putting their throwing their hat in the ring as far as getting into professional sports, kind of like NHL signing a deal with ESPN and was it TNT? I think it was TNT.
Yeah, I think so.
Which neither of those have broadcasted a hockey game in a few decades, so it's going to be cool to see them back on there. Yeah, it's all about money talks. That's basically what it comes down to. Who's got more money and says we want this more. Because as the NFL gets bigger and bigger, there's going to be more and more entertainment industries that want to get involved with it. So, but yeah, how if you had it, all the points you had mentioned are kind of the same ones that I had today for the NFL. I don't have anything else to add. If you did before we switch things over here.
No, I don't. I feel like we should switch over to the biggest news.
Yeah. So again, it is Wednesday, Wisconsin Wednesday. This week, we are going to be diving into our 2021 NBA champion, Milwaukee Bucks. So yeah, right off the bat, they pulled it off last night. Game 6, NBA champs. Mr. Giannis is the finals MVP as he drops 50 points in the game last night. We didn't watch the game together last night, but I guess what were your initial reactions watching the game and then kind of just watching it all fold out in the end?
I just thought it was relentless effort by the Bucks. They never gave up, even though they had their shit quarter, which they normally have every single game, which was the second quarter where it looked like we could have been a bottom 5 team in the NBA. And then we go out and turn around and play 3 quarters of dominant basketball and prove that we're basically the best team in the world. Giannis put the team on his back, and it was almost a storybook ending. Like, you couldn't have wrote it you couldn't have wrote a better story than saying Giannis dropped 50 in game 6 and then went 17 from 19 from the line. Like, you wouldn't believe that if you wrote that into a story. So just everything for what happened, it was just a long time coming. Him and Middleton choosing to stick with the roots that they've planted here in Milwaukee and continue to keep growing. And what really was awesome was that gave me like Michael Jordan vibes of when I watched The Last Dance, was how he said that we're gonna go back to back. Like, we're gonna go back to back, and now it's up to them to go do it. I really don't see them having any trouble getting back to the position that they're in right now. Especially getting DiVincenzo back, who averaged double-digit points. He's going to be a huge addition back when he gets back healthy. So I really don't see any holes. The only thing that does concern me now that the Bucks are a championship contending team is all the older vets, all the players who are ring hunting, wanting to come to Milwaukee now to win a title. So I hope management, holds their ground and sticks with the young team that we got. And if everybody could come back and re-sign again, I feel like they could run it back.
Yeah, I mean, last night we were kind of talking about the game with how they're kind of going through the roster. There really isn't anybody who would probably leave. The only person that could potentially leave would be PJ Tucker, and he wouldn't leave to go to another team. He'd retire because he's been in the league for a very long time. Obviously spent most of his career in Houston. The Bucks pick him up this year along with Drew Holiday, and both of those guys played a huge part into their championship run. So, and then obviously the rest of the starters, Giannis just signed a max extension. Middleton, he's kind of one of those guys that just, again, very loyal, sticks to his roots, doesn't need to be one of the highest paid players in the league, though he plays like he should be top 5, top 10 paid guard in the league. I don't see him leaving. Obviously, it helps when you have two guys who buy into the system that hold each other accountable. Sometimes when you have like one standout guy on a team and he just keeps winning and winning and winning, and then they can't get to that point. Prime example, Dame Lillard over in Portland. He's been the face of that team for many years, and he's gotten to the point where he's getting frustrated. Obviously, he has CJ McCollum as kind of the number 2 there, and then they go on to get Carmelo Anthony, who's towards the end of his career as well. But when he doesn't have that guy who brings that similar energy and has that same loyalty, you're going to start to look elsewhere for winning. But again, with kind of the culture that Giannis and Middleton have built in Milwaukee, I don't see either of them leaving. Brook Lopez as well. He's kind of one of those guys who has found a good fit in Milwaukee. He's been on, I believe, 1 or 2 other teams prior to this, and seems like he's found a good mesh point there. And then Holiday as well last night. I can't remember if it was at the press table after the game or when he was on the court, but he said he was basically giving kudos to Milwaukee going out and getting him, and he said that he wanted to finish his career as a Buck. So so long as Milwaukee wants him, that's another guy that seems like he's going to stay for a long time. So like you said, it makes sense for them to be able to run it back and at least get to this point next season. I mean, the Suns are going to be in a tough spot too, even though Chris Paul said that he is not retiring, he's coming back. It's going to be tough for them on that side to kind of get back to that point with kind of all the adversity in the West that they're going to have to go through. Again, the Jazz are right there. The Clippers were without Kawhi. That's a different team if he's in the equation.
Yeah, but nobody's big enough to handle the Bucks. Like, our size is unreal.
Yeah.
No one plays how we do. Everybody plays all offense. We play defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching Stephen A. No, it wasn't Stephen A. Shannon Sharp. He was talking about, him and Skip were talking about the Suns on basically what they kind of need to do if they want to go for another shot to like run it back, basically. And they both agreed that they need to go find someone that's like 6'10" and that can play defense. Because Aiden he's too little.
They're too young.
Like he's tall. He's tall and he's good, but he's just not old enough to understand to get in, the positioning where Giannis just took advantage of him all night long. And you can't. And then you have so many big players that we have on the Bucks, and just the way that they said it was like there was no team that could stop us when we're rolling. The only way that we lose games is when we have more than one shit quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't happen. And talking about free agents here, Thanos, he will be an unrestricted free agent. Brian Forbes, he has a player option. Justin Jackson is a restricted free agent. Bobby Portis has a player option as well. Jeff Teague, Axel Tupain, and PJ Tucker all are unrestricted free agents at this point. So, yeah, I mean, would it be nice to have PJ Tucker back on your team? Yeah, but also at the same time, did we get everything that we could out of him? Like, is it worth rolling the dice for one more time? I mean, if he can do exactly what he did this season, I say, yeah, do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can't compete to the same level that he did this season with the energy, I'd say maybe just let him walk.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like he's definitely at a decline. He's at a decline. He's past his prime. Obviously, still an amazing NBA player, but he's going to be going down every year as he gets older. And it'd be tough for him to match what he did this year. And they didn't even have him for a full season. So for him to play his role that he did with the Bucks, being that gritty, in your face, super hard defensive guy, understanding his role that, hey, if you can make 1 or 2 baskets, great, but we don't need you to. We just need you to play tough basketball. At his age, that'd be tough for him to do for a whole season, to where, again, it'd be very hard. I don't see him matching exactly what he did this year. I could see him coming close, but again, that decline with age and fatigue and his body declining on him year after year. Yeah, it'd be tough for him to come back and do exactly what he did. I mean, out of that list of all the other guys that you mentioned being free agents, Jeff Teague was he was the only reason that they picked him up, I feel like, was to help fill that void with DiVincenzo getting hurt. They had him on the roster beforehand, but he never saw the court. DiVincenzo gets hurt and he starts to see 3 to 8 minutes a game, which isn't a big role when you have a superstar player like that go out. So obviously if Teague wants to sit on the bench and accept that he's going to come in only if somebody gets hurt, if somebody needs a breather, or at garbage time at the end of a game. I mean, if he accepts that role, good for him. But also he got his ring now too. So who knows what he's going to do? He's getting up there in age. So yeah, and Bobby Portis, another one, seems like he's really happy with his position in Milwaukee now as well.
He'll sign his player option. He'll come back.
Yeah, if he's become a fan favorite overnight, and yeah, but the Bucks are kind of one of the few Wisconsin professional teams that seems like they work hard to keep their star players and guys that want to stay in Milwaukee, where obviously the Brewers don't have the money to keep big players and they end up signing elsewhere. And the Packers, their whole situation with letting guys
not having a fucking owner.
Yeah. So yeah, the Bucks are in a good spot again to go back to back. Obviously we're going to be riding this out all summer, enjoying the championship. And as soon as the ring ceremony and the banner is hung in Fiserv, that's the official closing of that book, and it's time to put your head down and go for back-to-back. So
yeah, Vegas already came out with the futures for next year's odds. The Nets open as the favorites, Lakers are second best, and then the Bucks have the third best odds to win. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then hopefully everybody last night who was out celebrating down by Pfizer's, is all okay and everything is all good. There were 2 shootings that took place. There was only 3 people reported wounded. Obviously, there could be many more if it was shooting into a bunch of people like that. So we just want to hope that everybody is okay and safe. And if you're going to celebrate, please do with caution. I know our governor, Tony Evers, is mobilizing 150 National Guard members and troops to Milwaukee for traffic control and public safety for the parade, and they were supposed to be there last night as well. So if that can happen with all those police around and whatever, just make sure you guys are keeping your head on a swivel and being safe if you're going to go out and be there for the celebration.
Yeah, it's unreal that city has that many people like that. To as much as it looks like chaos, it's all organized chaos, kind of, to have all those people in that area and to allow a smooth transition of people. I mean, out of 65,000 people, obviously
there was probably 100,000.
Yeah, when it was all said and done, of all the people who flocked there as the game end got closer and closer, and all the people that were at home watching the games, all the wanted to go down there and be a part of that celebration. But yeah, it's cool to see that happen. And then, I mean, obviously you hope that number of injuries is 0 in all those cases, but out of probably 100,000 people, 3 people got hurt.
That's just what was reported.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's people that got ran over and stuff too, falling over drunk and get stomped on and stuff.
There was a police officer that was trampled by the crowd.
I believe it.
Yeah, he said he was okay. It wasn't like super injured or anything, but yeah, as like the fireworks and shit started going off downtown, like people just started like running like through the streets, and yeah, a police officer was in the wrong place at the wrong time and just got ran over.
Yeah, just kind of, I guess, recapping kind of the season up until the end here. Just again, a couple points with again the playoffs. They had their first round sweep against the Heat. Second round Game 7 win against the Nets in Brooklyn, and then punched their ticket to the finals with a Game 6 win in Atlanta. So they had clinch two series on the road this year in the playoffs, which is huge to go into hostile territory and do what they did. Again, DiVincenzo hurt his foot in the first round against the Heat. The big point of adversity to go through early in the playoffs.
And then Katie's big toe on the line.
Yeah, Katie, big. Yeah, if he was a half shoe size smaller, that would have been the end of the Bucks season there. And then the biggest kind of heart-stopping moment of the playoffs is Giannis's knee injury in the conference finals with the Hawks, losing Game 1 at home. And then Giannis got hurt in Game 3. It was just kind of, I mean, I right away I texted you, I'm like, oh, Bucks season's over. And again, we'll see in the coming weeks if he'll need surgery. They said that there was no structural damage, but who knows? If he was playing hurt on that, he could have partially tore something between when he came back in Game 6 of the last series, and then playing 6 hard-fought games in the NBA Finals. Who knows what kind of condition his knee's going to be in now. And I think that kind of the biggest point of the season that helped them get to this point is them being a 3rd seed in the East and kind of being under the radar most of the season. Nobody really, until they took out the Nets, nobody was really thought the Bucks would get to this point. Out of the East, it was all Nets, and then after the Nets, like, oh, if they somehow get dethroned, the 76ers are going to be the next team up in line in the East. And then even the Hawks are kind of, everybody's on the Cinderella team bandwagon with that. Oh, they made it this far, they can't be stopped now kind of thing. And everybody just kind of looked over the Bucks, and I feel like, one, that took a little bit of the pressure off of them, and two, it allowed them to just play their own basketball and not worry about having the spotlight on them all year. So yeah, I feel, and I mean, last 2 seasons prior, they're the number 1 team in the entire NBA. And then they fall short in the conference finals and the semis 2 years in a row. So yeah, I mean, next year, obviously they're going to have a lot of teams out coming after them, playing them differently because they are the reigning champs. So I feel like it'd be tough to see them take that 1 seed in the East again, especially if the Nets can keep that entire team together and keep them healthy. They'll probably be the number 1 team out of the East again. But yeah, it's going to be hard to count the Bucks out. The NBA season's a long season, 86 games. Or 82 games. I don't even know if they're going back to a full season next year. I think they played 72 this past year. So it'd be nice to see them get back to a full season as well, kind of stretch it out so that they're not playing as many games in a short amount of time, which again kind of fed into a lot of the injuries that happened this year. Guys weren't allowed to recover, and you had, 13, 14 All-Stars that ended up getting hurt that were playing in the playoffs. So yeah, another season comes to an end. Hockey's all done. Basketball is finishing as well, or just finished last night as well. So, but the NFL is just around the corner. So,
the Olympics started.
And the Olympics, yep. So that's gonna be crazy too for Holiday and Middleton, how they just win an NBA title, and then 3 days later they're gonna be looking to make a run for a gold medal. So,
oh, and Devin Booker's on that flight as well.
Oh, yep. So
the 2 are going to be celebrating. Booker's going to be sitting there crying.
Yeah. We'll kind of see with the Olympics too, how that goes. Again, with how they've had a new strain of COVID breakout in that part of the world. If they can find a way to contain it and allow the Olympics to go on, awesome. But again, it's going to be a worldwide catastrophe if the Olympics decide to push through it, and they shouldn't. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, interesting to see what's going to happen with that. What's going on in baseball?
Yeah, so after a weekend sweep with the Reds, or over the Reds, the Brewers dropped game 1 in their series with the Royals last night, 5-2, or actually say yesterday afternoon. It was supposed to be a night game, but they moved it to the afternoon so people could watch the Bucks game. But
And the whole Brewers got a club suite at the Bucks.
Yep, yeah, that was cool to see. And Yelich was down courtside by himself. The D-backs win their third straight after a rally in the 7th, putting up 8 runs. Jose Altuve celebrates his 10th anniversary MLB debut with 2 home runs and a 9-3 win over the Indians. And then Oakland City Council approves a waterfront stadium for the A's. I feel like it's been a long time coming, as that stadium has been kind of one of the more shithole stadiums just in general, even when the Raiders were there too, sharing a stadium with the A's. It's just kind of a rough stadium, or having the sand on a football field, and just kind of an older stadium in general. So cool that they just got approved for a waterfront stadium. Obviously it's going to be probably 4 or 5 years before that goes up, as they just approved for it to happen. Now they got to put together all the plans and stuff for it, and then break ground, and then it's going to be a year or 2 to actually build it. So good for the city of Oakland to get a new stadium there. And yeah, that's all I had for the MLB. Again, this game's going on every single day. I'm not going to bore you guys with score after score. Just a couple points to throw out there. Yeah, that's all I got.
Sounds good. And then over in the hockey world, tonight the Seattle Kraken have their expansion draft, which gets underway, I believe, at 7 p.m. So it'll be interesting to see who they select on their team, as this is their first year in existence. The other big news, Nashville Predators prospect, he's on their AHL team, Luke Prokop, comes out publicly and states that he's gay and hopes that living an authentic life helps everybody and him to live his best life, and nothing but support from the whole hockey world. It's been awesome to see all the support that he's been getting for just being who he is. And I feel like we're finally in a time where it's okay to, we're in such an accepting time. I feel like if you've got something to say, come out and say it. You'll be supported by live your best life. And that's all I really had on the NHL. Not too much news going on there, but I do have one. Excuse me. Do have one more point here before I let us go here. Alabama quarterback Bryce Young approaching $1 million in endorsement deals already, and he hasn't even taken one snap yet for Alabama. Nick Saban came out publicly and stated how this name, image, likeness thing doesn't think that this was the best course of action, as it's not going to be equal to everybody. Going to a big university, and universities where they have a lot of money, you're going to get paid a lot more than, so it's going to kind of change recruiting a little bit. People are going to start wanting to go to the schools where they can get a lot of money, big name schools instead of smaller schools now, if they're doing it strictly for the money. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens. As it's insane that he's going to be making $1 million and he hasn't even taken a snap yet.
Yeah, I feel like you said, you're going to see a lot of guys, unfortunately.
Can you imagine being a senior in high school, committing to Alabama, and then making $1 million before you even take one snap there?
I mean, sounds like an Alabama thing to do.
18-year-old millionaire, and you're about to play for Alabama and probably win a national championship and make millions of dollars for the rest of your life. Yeah, I think this is going to encourage kids too now to stay in college longer.
Yeah, especially because I feel like they are going to start to do it for the money more, unfortunately, because a lot of them are going to realize that less than 1% make it to the big show in every single sport, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey. that they're going to take as much money as they can in college, go to the bigger colleges, stay for a fourth year, stay for a fifth year if they're redshirted as a freshman, and keep making more money because they realize that it's not guaranteed for me to make it to the next step. So if I can make millions of dollars before I get to that step, and I do fall short, at least they can still live comfortably, so long as they manage their money well. So, in that way, obviously, it's good for these players to make that kind of money. That way, if they don't make it that far, but at the same time, you don't want them to be doing it for the wrong reasons, where they're all flock into a handful of schools because they have the most money to offer to these kids, which still not even sure how that's going to work, to where if a bigger D1 school is going to be able to offer athlete more money or less money or whatever that's going to be. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it's just even across the board, where each team, here's your pool of money to pull from. This is the max amount of money that you can give one specific athlete, and that's how the bar is set, because otherwise you're going to start to see a lot of programs start to go under and start to get eliminated from schools if they're not making them enough money, or if they're not having enough athletes to even do it, to where you're going to start to see athletes who were swimmers, were tennis players, these other kind of miscellaneous sports realize, oh, our this specific sport doesn't have any money coming into it from the NCAA. I'm going to go work to become a basketball player, a football player, a hockey player. Hopefully that doesn't come to that point, but money makes the world go around, especially in college sports.
Yeah, and then another big shocker that just ended a little bit ago. The U.S. women's national soccer team loses against Sweden 3-0, which ends their 44-match unbeaten streak. Says they were stunned losing 3-0. Looking at it, wasn't really close. So soccer 3-0 is like winning a football game 21-0. So yeah, hopefully we can bounce back, and hopefully we can, turn it around and go for the gold.
Yeah, it's going to be another dominant year for the Olympics for the U.S. Again, having the most gold medals, most medals just overall in Olympic history. Again,
yeah, but the rest of the world is catching up, dude.
Yeah, I mean, especially now that you have a lot of players who are from other countries that stay loyal to their countries, or instead of playing for the U.S. team that they are usually playing on, they go home to play for their home country. That throws a wrench in things.
I don't think they can play for the U.S. You only can play for the country that you're born in.
You can play for a country that you're a citizen in. So there's some players who could play for like 3 or 4 different countries if they wanted to.
Are you 100% positive?
Yeah, because look at like I'm trying to think, like Luka, he was a big one, to where there is a question mark whether he was going to go play for his old country or stay for the US. Yeah, players can, they don't have to play for the country that you're born in. You can stay. I mean, look at the NBA. I guarantee every single guy that's on that Olympic basketball team was not born in the US. I don't know who's all on it, but I'm sure there's somebody who was born in a different country. Even for golf, I don't know if Morikawa, if he was US born.
Yeah, he was.
Okay. I was just trying to think of somebody. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you don't. Yeah, you don't have. It's just for who you're a citizen at.
Okay, so before you compete in one Olympic Games, you're allowed to choose which country. Once you compete for one country, you can't swap ever again. So whatever country you play for in your first Olympics, you're playing for that country for the rest of the time.
Oh, that makes sense. Which I don't even think Luka played in. I don't think he was in the league for the last Olympics yet. And then obviously he's not on this team this year either. But I'm trying to remember. I know in years past there's been players who are like, oh, this person's gonna go play for their home country instead. I feel like Spain, there's a couple Spanish players that are in the NBA that went and played for their home country instead of for the US.
And you have to have like a good reason on why you're doing it too, because it's got to be approved by the IOC executive board. And there's like a huge list of all these questions that you have to like check the box for of why you're not playing for the country where you were born. So yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, and then speaking of Collin Morikawa, that's the last point I had for today too. The British Open was this past weekend, and Collin Morikawa wins with a score of 15 under, and becomes the youngest player with the shortest span between two major wins. Because I think he's only 24 or 25 years old, which is crazy to be that young and have that kind of success already. So. Good for him to win that tournament. The next two were Spieth at -13 and then John Ram at -11. So yeah, it was a good. I caught the last like 4 or 5 holes of Morikawa on Sunday, just because again with it being in the UK, unless you want to get up super early, you're only going to be watching the end of it. So. Yeah, just giving him a shout out for that again. And that season's winding down pretty quick too. There's only a couple weeks left until the FedEx playoff start for that.
I don't know. I haven't really been,
because I know with this win, Morikawa moved into number 1 on the FedEx Cup standings as well, I want to say. And I think when I was watching it on Sunday, they were talking about how it's just a few weeks away before that starts, which is kind of funny how there's like a play, like to have like a playoff for like the winner, like the number 1 on the leaderboard for the year. But I feel like these majors get a lot more of attention than like the championship for the FedEx Cup does.
Right. Yeah, and then I just have one quick point that I forgot to mention when we were talking about Giannis. He becomes the first player in NBA history to win Most Improved Player, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Finals MVP. He's the first person ever to do that. So, just to cap that off, thanks everyone for stopping by. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to all of our socials listed in the description below. We will be getting your merch out to the people who won the NHL Bracket Challenge here shortly. Just waiting for one more order here to get in. And then, yeah, we hope you guys have a good hump day and see you on Friday.
See you guys on Friday.